session I will talk about the emotional negotiation, and in this emotional negotiation first we will understand that is what does it mean about the introduction of the emotional negotiation, and why emotion negotiations are important at workplace under the interpersonal dynamics. There are the different approaches for incorporating the emotional negotiation in emotions. Then temporal phase for negotiation, model of negotiation problems and possible solutions, 5-step approach for emotional negotiation, Indian negotiation strategies and technical ways I will be discussing. So, when I will start with the understanding the emotions, that what are the emotions means are. So, emotions are a state of feeling that results in physical and the psychological changes that influence our behavior, and therefore, in that case it should be having the very important, that is the physical and psychological aspect is there. And when we are talking about these physical and psychological changes, so naturally whatever the physical or psychological changes are there and that influence our behavior. This is to be noted, because it becomes very important, that is our behavior is reflection of our emotions, and it is taken like that. So, according to author David G. Mayer's, human emotion involves physiological arousal, expressive behavior, and the conscious experiences there. So, whenever we are talking about, that is the when we are emotional, so in that case we reflect the physiological arousal also is there, and therefore either by the movements or activities by our hands or by our facial expressions. So, there will be definitely we will having the physiological arousal is there. Then we are having the expressive behaviors, and then on basis of not only by the our body language, but also by our expressive behavior will be there, and we will have the conscience explains also. But according to Rubin and Brown, negotiation refers to a process in which individuals work together to formulate agreements about the issues in dispute. This process assumes that is that the parties involved are willing to communicate and to generate the offers, counter offers, or both. So, therefore, when we talk about the negotiation, suppose there is a party A and there is a party B. So, both the together an agreement is to be there between the party A and party B. So, in this whatever the matter of dispute is there, this process assumes that the parties involved are willing to communicate and to generate the offers, counter offers, or both. So, there will be the offers from the A side, there will be the offers by the B side, then there will be the counter offer, and the counter offer and where is the negotiation zone? Negotiation zone is either here or it is here. So, because this will be acceptable, it will be acceptable when B will enter into this offer of the A, or A is ready to enter into offer zone of the B, and when this zone is there, this we will say that this is the bargaining zone, and therefore, in that case, so it will be the bargaining zone will be on the basis of, that is the how we are going to have that particular acceptance on this zone. So, earlier it was the offer zone was here by A, and this was the offer zone by V, but when the B is ready to enter here in the offer zone of A, so naturally the negotiation will be done. So, there will be the offers and there will be the counter offers, and then both are having the offers and counter offers, and finally reach to this particular negotiation zone. So, it becomes very important, that is the question will be how do you reach to that negotiation zone. So, why we should enter? the question will be that why we should enter, and the reason is have to charge the behavior. So, therefore, in that case it will be becoming a very important. So, how that we are having the emotional negotiation will help to charge the behavior, because unless and until they will not be emotionally not charged, there will be no behavior, and if there is no behavior, there is no energies, the negotiation is there, and there is no energies, the negotiation, that is the nurture or damage the relationship. So, it has to be there, that is that is required to help to charge behavior is there, and then the energize the negotiation. So, if this process we follow, that is we are going with the charge the behavior, and then only then we will have the negotiation energies and nurture of the nurture or damage the relationship. So, the way we will energize the negotiation. Now, here it can be the constructive or the energy may go for the destructive. So, this charge behavior which is coming from here to here, then how you are taking, if you are having the constructive, then definitely it will nurture the relationship, but when you are using your energy to damage, then that will be destructive. So, it becomes very important how do you channelize your energy, and if you channelize your energy in a positive way, constructive way, then definitely you will be having the nurturing this type of the emotional negotiations, and your emotions that will be charged towards to reach to the bargaining zone. The approaches to incorporating emotions into negotiation. So, affect and cognition approach is there. The studies how a negotiator affects impact his or her cognitive tendencies, and here they examine the intrapersonal consequences of emotion, such as how emotions shape, direct or guide internal thought process is there. So, in the case of the internal thought processes, their emotions, how they are going to develop an intrapersonal relationship, and that will be the affect and cognitive approach will be there. Second one is social functions approach. In the social functions approach, the consequences of emotion that occur between people who are observing and responding to each other's emotion, that is the interpersonal relationship is there. So, in case of this we will find in the affect and cognition approaches, it is the intrapersonal consequences, but when we are talking about the social functions approach, and therefore it is becoming interpersonal relationship. So, intrapersonal relationship means within the person. So, whatever the emotions are charged, and then what he decides to have a behavior, and that will be the intrapersonal will be there. But when we are talking about the social functions approach, in the social functions approach, it is the interpersonal relationship is there, and when they are maintaining the interpersonal relationship, they will be having the positive the relationships. What will be the positive relationships? Emotions occur in response to particular problem in social relations and often help resolve or change the relational problem. So, these social relations will be having the resolve or change the relational problem will be there. So, this social functions approach that will be lead towards the functions of the how to resolve or change. Temporal phases for emotional negotiation is the opening move, positioning, problem solving, and end game is there. So, here he will find that is this temporal phases will be first will be the opening move is there. Now, you see that is the many times you want to negotiate, but you stop the communication. So, therefore, in that case it is becoming very important in the emotional negotiation, you are able to express your emotions. If you can express your emotions, then definitely it will be a strong opening move. To get the strong opening move, one should be able to communicate and express, that is the what are his emotions, and therefore, it will be an offer, and now it will depend on the counter offer by the another person, and if the counter offer is positive, then you will find that is the emotional negotiation is successful. Suppose a person is expressing a compassion to the other, and then another person also accept the compassion, it is a counter offer, that is yes. So, there if that type of the behavior is there. So, the opening move, that will be a positive. But in the case, if suppose one person express the compassion and that has not been responded in the thanks, then definitely are accepting the compassion, rather it is misunderstood, then the opening move will fail. So, dear friends, like in negotiations, when we talk about our in emotional negotiation also, we have to see that is the our opening move, the first step is strong and therefore you can build on that. Second is why that move, and that is the answer is positioning. Because when at the workplace you are expressing your emotions and then those emotions are caring, then definitely why the caring emotion is there? That caring emotion is to protect and support the subordinate so that he can perform better. Like I have given the example in the earlier session, that is like the Intel. So, Intel is having the ensures, that is the new hires, they are not in isolation. So, what is that socialization is suggested, and that socialization will make the position of the individual. So, by socialization what we are doing? We are positioning that person, we are introducing him that he is such and such and he is the expert of such and such knowledge, he is at such and such designation. So, therefore, in that case that positioning is becoming a very important. The third one is the problem solving, and therefore, in that case in negotiation naturally, as I mentioned, that is there will be the offer, there will be counter offer, but here is the problem, and this is to be bridged. To bridge this particular problem, that is a problem solving. And who solves that particular problem? One of them. As I mentioned, either A has to enter here or B has to enter here. So, when they entered each other, then this problem solving zone converts into the negotiation zone, and that is the emotional bridge. And that if you are able to develop that emotional bridge here, so when you put the emotional bridge, what other person will walk on that emotional bridge and across that particular problem. So, therefore, in that case how smart you are to bridge those emotions, and through negotiations, that is the beauty of a smart manager. So, therefore, in that case, and as soon as you are able to construct that emotional bridge, then the game is end, because now there is no distance, there is no difficulty in communication, there is no difficulty in understanding to each other by the superior subordinate, and therefore, we will find that is the game ends there. So, what we learn from this slide? We learn that is have a positive emotional move, express and communicate, then make a positioning, that is why you are doing so, and and this move, this proposal is the honest, it is not manipulation, there is no malintention, there is no ill gain, and therefore, you are making that positioning. The trust, building of trust is there, and when the building of trust is there, you are bridging, as I mentioned, that you are an architect, you are an engineer who is building this bridge, and when you build that bridge, that will be the end game will be there. Now, I will discuss this particular model in the different phases also. For example, when we talk about with the one example, and the example is the interpersonal problem, the relevant emotions and means by which they are expressed, and if they are expressed, that is the now this is also important that you are caring, that is fine, but how you are expressing that care. So, here please understand, at workplace these means are important. This should be appropriate means, otherwise this will be misunderstood, and in that case there has to be a proper representation of the means to develop that interpersonal problem. So, in the opening move what you will do? You will communicate, as I mentioned, eye contact, and then the show of the palms, right, that is also one is there, close interpersonal distance. So, therefore, in that case it will be always that when you start, then you are in the opening moves, that is the you are going with the eye contact and show of palms. In the case of this, if it is in the influence positioning, hostile criticism of others point, anger will be there. So, when you are having the eye contact, show of palms, you will have the liking will be the initiation stage, right. And but if you are having the hostile criticism of others, that is his academic background is not good, his social background is not good, his economic background is not good. So, then in that case here there will be the hostile criticism of others point. So, what initiation you have taken, that is the hostile point, and the forward brow posture expansion, and therefore, in that case the forward brows will be that making the posture expansions and the chopping the gestures, and then as a result your initiation move is inviting the anger, and therefore, this will be the, if this is the positioning is there, then what is required, how to solve the problem, and therefore, that is the trust creation is there, how embarrassment is there. So, apologies. So, many times when you go and talk to the person and apologize, there was no intention, but I understand that was a wrong move, and it has been, however, it has been misunderstood, but still I apologize, that is there was no intention for that. Then in that case definitely a trust will be there, and the blushing as the submissive posture will be there, going, talking, sitting with the person, interacting, and therefore creating that particular trust. And then when you are talking about that particular trust, then definitely in that case the end game will be, that is the wincing at one's own final concession and the clinging posture, and that will becoming the binding and will be there. So, therefore, we have to see the now when we opening moves, we have to see the interest, personal questions, eyebrows raised, cocked head, forward lean, this will be there. In case of the influence in anger, contempt, dismissive tone, look away from other when other is speaking. So, therefore, in that case you are not involved. So, therefore, it will be a problem. Empathy, synchronized positivity, examples that is a simultaneous smiling and nodding will be there, and the then the expression will be surprise and anger at others' reflectance to each final statement will be there. So, therefore, in that case you will be having, that is the phase model of negotiation problems, and then how to overcome those solutions. If you follow this, then definitely you will be able to create that particular bridge. Now, here we will talk about, that is the how in the body language beautifully demonstrated, that is the liking is there. So, you smile, and the anger is there, eyebrow, you raise your brows, then the embarrassment is there, you are not able to make the eye contact, and then the end game will be the pain will be there. So, therefore, when you show the interest or the contempt or the laughter or expressions, so therefore, in that case these are the different negotiation problems and emotional solution. Now, here however, we are not going into that much in detail, but the body language, have you observed the facial expressions and the emotional negotiation? So, naturally when your facial expression, physiological and facial expressions are positive, like for example liking is there or the laughter is there, if I take these two, then definitely what do you think, how will be the emotional negotiation? Naturally the emotion negotiation that will be smooth and fast. So, therefore, this particular building of emotion negotiation, that will help us. Now, I will also like to check here the Kopelman's the 5-step approach for emotional negotiation. The first and foremost is, that is the be mindful, and therefore, if you are able to be very careful, then definitely you are into that state of mind, that is yes, I have to negotiate. You see, sitting on the hot seat for the negotiation is not that easy. First, you have to talk to yourself, you have to understand yourself, that is the, are you in a mood for negotiation or not? Because if it is by profession, it is by force, you are on the chair of a negotiator, then definitely the chances of success will be very, very low. But you are in a mood, your mindset, that is, no, this problem I have to solve, because I have to increase the capacity of my organization, and therefore, in that case I will be mindful. Identify emotional trigger and focus on something else, and therefore, in that case it becomes very, very important, that is the where is your emotional trigger. Because you see, if that particular issue, if it has hurt you a lot, so you will be highly triggered emotionally, and there may be chances that you are emotionally imbalanced, and if you are emotionally imbalanced, then you focus on something else. And because I can share with you, that is when I was the labor officer and I involved into the wage agreements and the negotiation with the unions, then definitely in context to the technical negotiation, that is the productivity and the man-machine relationship, and in addition to that, that was the your relationship with your workers and representative of workers. And therefore, if there is a transparency, the people know you, because you were very much involved in the socialization process. So, people know who are you, how are you. So, therefore, in that case there will be always, that is the focus will be on the solving the problem and not trigger on, that is the discouraging the problem. Then the reinterpret the trigger. So, there, but it is very important, that is the whatever trigger is there, that has to be confirmed by the another party. If it is not confirmed by the another party, then there definitely it will not be the right interpretation. After the emotion by the changing, it is the physiological expression, like here you see, that is when we have talked about the physiological expression. So, offer and the counter offer is there, and then how do you have this physiological expression. So, therefore, it will be always, that is the whenever you are negotiating, whether you are in the favor or you are against, you are representing. Even you can try to hide as much as possible, but dear friends, you will be able to interpret and representing in the physiological expressions. Then there will be the take action that others will see, and therefore, in that case it will be very, very important, that is always we are taking the action that others will see. Now you see, that is the whatever negotiation is done, that negotiation will be reflected into the your decision making process, and your decision making process will ensure, that is the there has been this type of these action which will be ensure, that is the yes, you are taken a right decision. Like as a karta or as a family head, when you take a decision, other members of the family are also watching. That is the what is the approach of the head of the family, and if the head of the family is taking the action that is very positive, that is the caring, that is the protection, that is the support, there is emotions involved in that, in decision making process, then definitely other members of the family, they will be also getting the encourage for the emotional negotiation. And the similarity is there when you are at the workplace as a manager, when you are involving the emotions in negotiations and then exchanging the emotions, that is of the union or maybe the subordinate or maybe the colleagues or maybe the superior, people are watching you, and the decisions which you are taking, that are getting interpreted, and the society knows that is what sort of personality you are, and therefore, this approach, that is which is started from the mindful, because if the first step, if it is not positive, then definitely rest of the emotional negotiation, that has to be chances, higher chances, not always, higher chances will be there that you will not be able to construct the bridge. So, therefore, in that case your actions will be seen by the others. Now here interestingly I try to take certain examples from our ancient literature also. For example, the Lord Vishnu, Indian negotiation strategies and tactical ways. So Lord of maintenance. So rituals and practices adopted in negotiating would have common memory and it should be preserved. So therefore it is always becoming the rituals and practices adopted in negotiation, and that is always that is having the common memories will be there, and core values are maintained. Values that promotes high performance and integrity should be encouraged, and if you are able to value that high performance and integrity, then definitely the persons will be having the lot of maintenance is there. And the post negotiation negotiator, that is follow up action and makes the other person feel good even if he has negative outcome. This is the beauty. The outcome is negative, right, but even in that case the other person is feeling good. Why? Because the outcome is negative but intentions are good. So when you stop emotion negotiations, your child to go out after the 8 o'clock in the night, that is no, you have to be in the. So what is the outcome? Outcome is negative. Child has stopped to go out, but what is the feeling? Feeling is good. That is, my parents are taking care of me, and therefore they are not allowing. So therefore, dear friends, we should not see only the consequences, we have to see the post consequences also, and in the post consequences are good, you are the winner. The negotiator should remain cool and composed, like the Sheshnaga represents the peaceful universe, and therefore in that case when we talk about the Lord Vishnu with the Sheshnag, so therefore that is the peaceful universe, and that has been the very important. Lord Shiva, who is known for the Lord of Destruction, attempts to destroy and weed out bad negotiation practices that may harm the relationship between the parties. So therefore, dear friends, sometimes to maintain the good relationship, you have to be Lord of Destruction. And when you will be having the Lord of Destruction, then in that case you will be able to maintain the relationship between the parties. And the third one is the Lord Brahma. So when we talk about the Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, so therefore Lord Brahma is the Lord of creation, and in Lord of creation attempts to create a relationship between the people, the negotiation. So therefore in that case it is, as I mentioned, that is a Lord of maintenance, Lord of destruction and Lord of creation. So this is the basis where we are talking about the universe, and therefore it is the creation of the relationship of the people, the negotiation, and therefore in that case this we find that is the all the three lords, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, they are making the sometimes the destruction, sometimes the maintenance and sometimes the creation. Here our discussion will be incomplete if I finish before I express about the Lord Hanuman. Lord Hanuman represents about the unlimited power that lies around ourselves, and therefore sensitizing ourselves, that is, yes, we have the power, and therefore in any situation you can create the emotional negotiations, and those emotional negotiations will be wonderful if we use our all almighty power. Negotiator should be self confident and know himself. So please believe in yourself. There will be no one from the outside that will have this feeling that is the what you are. Your well wishers will only can you sensitize, but ultimately the action is to be taken by yourself. And when you will be able to take your action yourself, then only there will be the negotiator will be confident, self confidence, and will bring the results. Ability to change size of the body during the adversaries. So therefore body language of the negotiator should be flexible to the according to the situation. So when it is required to be the aggressive, and then definitely the person should be aggressive. When it is required to be the mild, the person should be able to create his body as a mild is there. So, last slide which I would like to conclude this particular session, emotional negotiation, that is the speak sweet words with affection. Always please see, that is the whenever you are having the negotiation, please as be mindful, the first step do not forget, that is the be mindful, have emotional stability, and then start and initiate with the positive. And therefore, you should your words in the beginning, that has to be the sweet words with the affection. Let the other people understand you are not opposing them. There is nothing personalized, but there are certain issues which for the benefit of the organization we have to talk. So, a good negotiator should use his communication to achieve his goals and objectives. And if he is able to achieve his goals and objectives as a good negotiator, so definitely his communication is good. He has built already the half the bridge. Exercise self control, and negotiator should be in immense self control, that he will not fall under the emotion of others, and as a result of which you will find that is the this negotiation that will continue by taking the fulfilling the expectations, and therefore, in that case it will be always in immense of the self control and never into the control of others. It is not like that somebody is provoking and arousing your negative emotions and you are responding in a negativity. So, that is to be avoided, and therefore, in that case that negotiation, that will be the successful negotiation. So, therefore, these are the certain discussions about the emotional negotiation. I will continue some part of it of the emotional negotiation in my next session also. Thank you.